Oh, boy, let's do it live on a Pure Joy Tuesday edition. Look at this weather. Sun's out, 60s. It's like you live in San Diego.
San Diego.
Sir.
I was actually talking with my buddy Beatbox on the way in. Cleveland, a crisp but warm Cleveland 65 to 67 and sunny might be our town's finest temperature.
Let's think about this.
I'm not afraid of 73 either.
It's a fall.
But
I like the option. I would just say that, boy, it's right there. I would put it in the Mount Rushmore of perfect temperatures in Cleveland.
Yeah, for sure.
The only thing that I would put above it, I think it would be, if this is going to be the Abraham Lincoln of the Mount Rushmores today, then I think the George Washington, founding of our country, first president guy, I'm not going to make this a monarchy, 2 terms. I think then that would be like add 10 degrees.
Yeah, 76.
Because then
Let's keep it in line.
Then you open in the pool.
The Declaration.
Then if you want to do some pool sports,
sure.
Then that's available. If you want a lake, that's available. I think 78 is really but this is Lincoln. I'm not going to argue with you. This is Abe Lincoln.
There's nothing better than when it's this temperature in like early October and the trees are beautiful and you have a little crisp. There's a little crisp on the air, but it's also it's warm enough to be glorious.
Please.
Wonderful.
This is a quarter zip shorts day.
That's what I'm wearing. Shorts and a quarter zip. Duh. Winning.
That's right. Of course we are. And this is elite. Yeah, this is exactly what it's all about. I wanted last night I had an experience I wanted to share with you. As I've said before, I did not play the Madden for 15 years. So from college until now, when we got the boys got the Series X, and so that was this is the first Madden experience since I've had since the mid 2000s. So I think the last Madden video game that I owned was probably either a Mike Vick or a Vince Young on an Xbox 360 situation.
Okay. Yeah, where you could just run.
That's how far?
You could throw a toss sweep to the running back so that he would run back to the 1 yard line, and then you could just run around Mike Vick and get 99-yard touchdowns every time. Yeah, it's great.
Yes. That was it. That was the last one I had. So last night, or rather yesterday afternoon, in between, in my lunch hour, the boys are at basketball camp, and so Beamsy is playing. My 7-year-old is playing a season with the Seattle Seahawks. And so he goes, Dad, I got to go to basketball, but can you finish this? There's, a couple minutes left in the fourth quarter. I'm like, oh, that'd take 10 minutes. Yeah, I could do that. I'll finish it for you. So he threw me the sticks, as the kids call them, and I hopped on. And what happened next is the closest to video game pure joy that I have felt since Vic, but even more so, if you remember these teams, and perhaps your boy Jeff George would have benefited from this as well, I don't remember playing with him, a Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss situation where you could just throw bombs over Baghdad.
Yeah.
So DK Metcalf is the closest thing. Now, I miss Calvin Johnson. So you could probably have done this with Calvin Johnson with Stafford too. I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't play in that era.
Andre Johnson was a dominant Madden wide receiver.
Okay.
Yeah, like that.
DK Metcalf is, to me, the closest thing that I can recall to the way it felt to have Randy Moss in Madden. They cannot cover him. They can't cover him.
Right, if he's covered, he
can outrun anybody.
Yeah.
He runs those deep overs, goes, nothing you can do.
It's a beautiful thing.
And Russ's arm?
Oh, and Russ leads it right
Pure
out
joy.
there beautifully. There was a while when they first introduced, the different catches. Like now there's the run after the catch, there's the possession catch, and then there's the aggressive catch. So it used to be, this is probably going back a decade, maybe even more, with Calvin Johnson and Andre Johnson, Moss even. When they first introduced those into the game, all you had to do was go deep, and you threw it up, and then you did the aggressive catch, and they would just jump up over everybody and catch it every time. It was it was unguardable. It was absurdity.
Oh, a little bit of a glitch.
It was a little bit of a glitch. It took them a few years to figure out that aggressive catch doesn't mean you just get to jump up and catch it every single time.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. So that sounds like what you were getting there with DK Metcalf.
Yeah, it was. I hadn't played with them. I'd only played the games that I played with the Browns, which were fun to play with the two backs. I always just go tempo. We're so much fun.
Yeah.
But this was the first time I played with somebody other than
The Browns.
than us. And holy cow, that was fun.
Have you done do you play with your kids at all?
Yeah.
You know,
a little.
If any of the three are pretty decent, you guys should play this thing called Superstar KO together, where you get a base team, and then you get 3 draft picks basically, where they'll give you options of 4 or 5 guys, and you get basically 3 stars to start, and then it drops you into a game. You get 1 possession from your 25. They get 1 possession from their 25. If you score and they don't score, you win. Like if you score and get an interception, you win. Or if you're tied, then it's called tug of war, and you basically get 4 plays to gain as many yards as possible. And if you win, you get another draft pick to add to your team, and the goal is to win 4 in a row like that. And they're real quick games because it's 1 possession each.
Okay.
That's it. And it's a fun way to play the game because it's the same gameplay. You want to pick the record breakers. That's where you get McVay's playbook. He's the coach. But there's one, Odell's the coach of one of the teams. And so you get all these people, but then legends get mixed in. So there's, a super Ronnie Lott card, or there's a super Derek Thomas card. There's a super Steve Smith or Jerry Rice, or, all the souped up legends that are in there. And so you just add your team, and then eventually you win 4 in a row, then you win. But it's fast. That's awesome. And it's fun. It's fun.
All right. That's what I like. I like the 20 minutes. And I like that I did like that how you can play. That was it. And I saw they had who's that guy we have on, Gibby, all the time from Madden who comes on with us? I forget his name, but we always have that guy on.
He's one of their creators, and he assigns
I follow
the
him on social. Yeah. I follow him on social, and he retweeted a thing of the improvements they've made to franchise mode for this season, which is, I know that the great Nick Shook was something that he lamented that the franchise mode has been neglected. I don't have a point of reference on what's been neglected or what needs to be better. I don't know. It seems pretty immersive to me the way that it is.
But
apparently people want it even more so.
They want it much more, and they want it much more realistic as well. People are not pleased with what they would call the realism or the lack of realism.
What realism?
The way that contract negotiations work, the way that trades work, the way the AI values.
They're too easy, they think,
or it's just whacked. Like some years you can trade certain positions for any. They really just haven't updated the features to the satisfaction of people who really want an immersive, very real franchise-like experience. That's the feedback on that.
So it seems like they've addressed some of that and tried at least, because I did see something tweeted out this morning about, hey, look at these are the new franchise things, and it's about paying staff and all this other stuff. I would have no interest in any of that.
No.
But I guess I could see how somebody would. I'm not doing all that.
No.
Anytime they're like, do you want to do training? I'm like, no, skip it. Let's play the game.
Yes,
play. Not here.
Play.
Not practicing. I didn't come here to practice. I'm Allen Iverson. We're talking about practice.
All right.
So that's where we are in that. But it's fun. And the new one drops here in a month?
Yeah, and they're doing, it's really smart that they're doing, that I actually might even listen to if I have, some drives.
Yeah.
Is they're doing a making of Madden podcast with the actual devs on some of the new features and just the thought process that went into some of the things they did and what it was like to really make the game. That I'm pretty interested in.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm down. I'm absolutely down with it. Do you need to get the disc?
Not anymore,
brother. Can you just do the
disc? No.
You don't buy discs, you just do downloads?
I haven't had a disc in years.
Wow. And what would be the benefit of having a disc? None?
None, because now you could go onto anybody's Xbox, and they would have to have that game there. If you were traveling to somebody's home to play on their Xbox, which doesn't happen a whole lot anymore, and they didn't have the game, that particular game. Because if they had Madden, for example, on their Xbox, you would just sign in on your profile, and all your settings and all your stuff would be right there in that Madden.
Wow. Okay. All right. Very good. I look forward to this.
Pretty good.
So that is pretty good. All right, let's get into the OBM Hot Topics.
Sure.
Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider, your Cleveland Browns. They have all the X's and O's for your office. You can call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. The news in the NFL of the day was the news yesterday. A guy we know, former Brown Carl Nassib, putting out a statement. Well, not putting out a statement, reading or talking on Instagram, put out an Instagram video announcing that he is gay, and he is NFL's first openly gay football player, active football player to do so. You probably have no doubt seen the video by now as it has made the rounds.
Yep.
Great for him.
Yep.
Good for him, and good for the NFL's response. I think that there's a couple of things as I've thought about this, and it speaks to how far we've come because, of course, I have other things that I do, and among the other things I do is work with a guy who played for the St. Louis Rams when Michael Sam was there. Mm-hmm. And so we've talked about what the circus around that was and how crazy that was around Michael Sam and what that was like for that organization, to navigate that. And I think in retrospect, the Rams actually did a pretty dang good job navigating that when you think back to the way that all of that was handled well over a decade ago or whenever that was. My hunch is that in that locker room that this will be a no big deal. This will be a no big deal. No one's going to care. The NFL locker rooms, guys, are probably as diverse as any ecosystem in the world. There is every socioeconomic, there is every racial background. There's clearly been gay players for years in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's no big deal because you get on the field and you play the game. It will not be a big deal in the room. And yet it's also a tremendously big deal to all of the people who are looking for people as role models to say it's okay to do this. So it's both, I think, if that makes sense, not a big deal in the room, in the Raiders' room. I don't think it'll be a deal. I think it'll be nothing. No one will even think about it in the room. But a very big deal as an example for others.
And
Does that make sense?
Yes, it's a massive deal, and yes, great for Carl. First thing I said was good for him. We certainly enjoyed our time with him here, and people in the locker room, they know already. This isn't a surprise to them. We've seen so many NFL players. Warren Moon had a tweet said, I played with some guys on my team who were gay, but were not comfortable at that time sharing it, and it's great that this is where we are. And you get a mix of people. Well, so what? Why does it matter? Who cares? Why is this a big it is a big deal because there is, and if I took anything away from his entire long post, it was this: studies have shown that all it takes, this is a direct quote, studies have shown that all it takes is one accepting adult to decrease the risk of an LGBTQ kid attempting suicide by 40%. Whether you're a friend, a parent, a coach, or a teammate, you can be that person. And so that's the power in this. And it's just, it's when we take a step back and we look at, okay, he is a positive role model for so many and will provide courage to so many. And hopefully, even if his announcement, prevents one suicide, if it helps one kid feel more comfortable, it is so worth it. And that's why it matters. And so I am very proud of Carl. It is great for him. The way he did it was so Carl. I mean, that is totally Carl Nassib, and it's great because it's also brought up a lot of the old Hard Knocks where he went through compound interest and blew people's mind. And then the other was if you spend 2 hours a day on Instagram, at the end of the year you will have spent 1 month out of your year on Instagram, and you can't be doing that. That's what he was saying, which I thought was hilarious.
Can't be doing
watching
that.
those,
Can't have
watching
it.
those. It's untenable. So, I think it's a big. The way that the NFL has responded, I think, is awesome, and I think you're going to see more players probably feel comfortable stepping forward. Now, there are going to be people that don't like it, and that's also part of the world that we live in, and that's okay too. I think that what he's done is he wants to be true to who he is and live his true self, live his true life, and I salute him. And again, I go back to that study. All it takes is one accepting adult to decrease the risk of an LGBTQ kid attempting suicide by 40%. That's staggering. That should be stop you in your tracks type of a number. Even because a lot of us probably think in 2021, no, it's not like that. It still is. And not only did that, he donated, $100,000 to the Trevor Project. So
Trevor Project.
Good for you, Carl. Good for you. I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely so. Absolutely. And I think, the other thing that I think when you think about, you think about football and what it can do and it can bring people together, there will be people who disagree. There will be people who will disagree with the comments from Cole Beasley. But you know what? That's what a locker room does. You get them all in a locker room, and then you hash it out. Sometimes you come to an agreement. Sometimes you don't. But when you go out on the field, you're all on the same team. And it's the same thing. And I do think we lost that last year in COVID. And you think about how divisive last year was on about every front as it could be.
Yeah.
The one of the great unifying factors in the world is sport.
That's right.
Because it doesn't matter your beliefs. It doesn't matter where you are politically, where you are religious, your background, socioeconomic. You're in First Energy Stadium, and Nick Chubb takes it 75 yards to the house. You high-five the guy next to you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You don't think about, oh, I disagree with this guy. He thinks this way on that. You don't think about any of it.
Correct.
You say, go bounce.
Correct.
That's it. And we miss that because we didn't have those gatherings. So we had such an isolation. Our life was so isolation for a year that it allowed for, I think, resentment where there was no release. And I think you'll see this in sport as an ability to heal.
Yeah. And it is. It's the great unifier, right? As you said. And I think that it will heal and it will continue, and we got that. That was why it was kind of so important that last fall the NFL played its entire season. When we think back on that, it is remarkable that the National Football League played its entire season when it started when it was supposed to, ended when it was supposed to, on schedule, every game. That's bananas.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think it was a big thing that kind of helped us get through some tough times that followed soon thereafter and get us to where, we are now. And we're seeing a return to normalcy, which is a wonderful thing. But, yeah, getting everybody in the stadiums together, that camaraderie, the sense of community that it fosters is going to be wonderful. I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Fun. Yeah. Speaking of can't wait, I can't wait for this. News 5, Tuesday, June 29th, 8 o'clock, Browns Countdown.
That's a week, baby.
Top 10 moments presented by Bridgestone. That's a week. You got it a Tuesday, baby, with Z and John Doss, Tim Couch, Jarvis.
Yes.
They will join. They'll count down the top 10 moments in Cleveland Browns history as voted on by you, the fans. Of course, the best fans in the National Football League. Tom Brady with a haymaker. How about that? We will get to that.
Boy.
Who could make the first Pro Bowls? We'll get into that conversation as well. We will take a look at the Atlanta Falcons, a team in a little bit of a not sure where they are. And we'll be joined by the great D. Orlando Ledbetter, one of our all-time favorites. Fun program for you here on a Tuesday, kids. Off and running. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Be sure to catch the latest edition of the best podcast available out today wherever you get your podcasts or by going to youtube.com/Browns. Jadeveon Clowney sits down with the boys, the Great Z and the Ibs boys, the final episode of the off season. You check it out and you will not be disappointed. Time for us to go around the league. So this made some noise yesterday. So apparently Tom Brady's on the shop. That's the LeBron show on HBO, I believe. Is that what that is? Yeah.
That's right.
So Tom Brady is on the show. They dropped a teaser for the episode, and boy, is it a teaser. Let's have a listen.
One of the teams, and they weren't interested at the very end. I was thinking, you're sticking with that mother?
Jeez.
Who do you think he's talking about?
I told you. I think it's got to be either Garoppolo.
I don't think it's an either.
Carr.
Just stop.
Tannehill.
No, I think you have it.
Garoppolo.
You have it. Yeah. It's the only one that would elicit that type of bitterness.
Well, because of Belichick
to drop
him.
that part in it, to drop that into it, because Belichick wanted him. They drafted him. Belichick wanted him over Brady, wanted to send Brady packing years ago. There would be resentment that would elicit that type of description.
And
he doesn't have no axe to grind with Tannehill or Carr.
No, and really he has no axe to grind with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't do anything.
Oh, it's Jordan.
Jordan, I was just going to say, the fact that Tom
Brady,
with what he's
done.
And
I took that personally.
And I took that, yeah. It's funny. We were golfing on you'll love because so it was me, the kid, Sims, and my buddy Reams, our buddy Reams, and we were having a real tight match. Everybody's playing really well. It's a tight match. We played the front first, so on the back, we played the back first, so 7 on the back would have actually been 16 in the match, and it was an important hole. And the kid had hit his with a stroke to like 10 feet left of the hole. I was about 100 out. I hit it to about like 9 feet, so I'm just a little bit, or maybe I was a foot farther than him. Maybe I was I was farther than him, 11 feet, so I was a little farther than the kid. Also left the hole. And as we were walking to the green, the kid said to Reams, he goes, just start worrying about your tee shot on 8.
Oh, I got it.
And I took that personally. I thought, now, in retrospect, he was probably just saying, this is my hole, you're out of the hole, I have a stroke here, and I'm right here in 2. But I thought he was saying, 7's over, I got it. And I took that personally. And when he said it, me and Sims both looked at each other like, what? And so if you know me by now, no way I'm missing that putt. So I knocked that putt in, and I start screaming. I said, worry about your tee shot now, Reams. And then the kid missed it, which was just a push, but it really felt like a great win. And then afterwards he was explaining to me, but I was – and me and Sims were pretending we were looking at the iPad laughing and going, and I took that personally.
And I took that personally?
I did, yes.
By the way, in the history of golf, at no point when you are told you just worry about your tee shot, does that make you worry less about your tee shot?
No, it probably makes you worry more.
No one has ever hit a good tee shot after somebody says, you just worry about your tee shot. I got this. That tee shot's going straight to hell.
And I've also realized that, like, when I try to stop doing it, but sometimes I do it when I tell my partner if they have a stroke at home, like, it's your stroke hole. You got this. Let's go. No, that doesn't help either.
No,
No,
opposite.
I got you. No, I just don't say it. I got you. Let's
just
go.
Nothing. Yeah, you don't.
Key it. And I took that.
It all goes
personally.
bad.
I love it.
It goes bad. But that is what this is.
Totally.
Tom Brady. Now the difference is unlike many of Jordan's beefs, which were just made up nonsense, he creates beef where there's no beef. Somebody looks at him wrong and he takes it personally. Muggsy Bogues takes it. Remember he was finding spite with the Charlotte Hornets. Like, what are we doing with that Hornets team? Like, gosh, Brady's pretty justified. Not necessarily at Garoppolo, but at Belichick.
Sure.
Because Belichick wanted Garoppolo. By the way, Belichick would have chosen wrong. Brady's been great. So they won another Super Bowl, and then he's won one without him in Tampa Bay. And Garoppolo, you would say, mixed. He led a team to a Super Bowl, was not great in the game.
He can't stay on the field.
Can't stay on the field.
Do you remember I want to say it's a Monday night game years ago, Patriots-Chiefs, and the Chiefs just boat raced them, and then that was like Brady's over, bench Brady, all the stuff in Boston.
Yes, I do.
And then he went on to win a couple more Super Bowls, I think, after that.
Right.
Rumors
But
of
he
his
can
demise
find that.
greatly exaggerated.
Oh my gosh, for years. I mean, I'm sure you can go find one of those, any of those shows where the two guys argue sports. I guarantee you can find videos of them saying he's washed. I promise you those are out there in abundance.
100%.
Those are out there. Yeah, so it's got to be Garoppolo because it's the only one that would elicit that type of response. What if Brady would have gone to San Francisco a year ago?
I'll tell you what he wouldn't have done. He wouldn't have won the Super Bowl.
No, I don't think so. Not with those injuries.
Not with they lost their whole defense. So
yeah,
I think Brady should be pleased it all worked out for him.
Yeah, and I wonder what the Bucs have extended Jameis.
Those are just all great what ifs, and that's what's so fun about the NFL. That
that's
domino,
sliding doors.
When you have a domino that's that big, that one domino could change everything. Everything.
Right. What are the Saints doing right now?
If I'm the Saints, I don't know why. I feel like the Saints should be the team that tries to figure out some way to get Deshaun Watson.
I just don't think they have any way to doing it because they don't have assets, and they're over the cap as it is.
So you have to give them like Lattimore, some picks, Jameis. Hey, I have a former number 1 overall pick. Here you go.
There you go. You can sell Jameis. That's the way to do it. Yeah. So I don't know. It's an incredible what if. I think that has to be it. My guess is he doesn't go into any more explanation than what you got right there on the show. Like that was the money line. You're not going to get. No one's going to press him on the shop and say, "Well, who was it?" You're not going to get that.
Yeah, I don't think you are going to get that. You're right. That they've put the finest moment right there. That's the money snippet, as it were.
Yeah, certainly is. This made a little bit of headlines as well. Chiefs defensive end Frank Clark driving around with an Uzi in his car, charged with a felony. His attorney says the gun belonged to his bodyguard. All right, when is the last time? No one's been hurt, so we can make a little bit of light of this. When was the last time you even heard the word Uzi? When we were kids,
like
Uzis were a big
society?
deal.
Yeah, like Menace to Society. There were some Uzis in there. Yeah.
I mean, Gibby, like, you got to go back to, I think Red Dawn, like those movies in the 80s about, that, like Rambo.
Sure.
The second one, not First Blood.
A-Team, sure.
A-Team, yep. I mean, it's been a long time since I've even heard. When I read Uzi, I thought, my God, this is 1986.
But you knew you could
I didn't
picture
know
it
they
right
still
away.
made them.
Of
course I can picture it.
Back when we were kids and they had some fairly, probably way too realistic, obviously, water
don't
guns.
say.
But I had an Uzi water gun. They would be like.
Of course you did. And what was the first thing you did? Because that Uzi water gun was either camo or black with an orange tip. What's the first thing you did?
Take the tip off.
That's right.
My favorite cap gun I ever had was I had an old Betsy from Davy Crockett back in before they even orange tipped them. Way old school.
There's one upstairs.
Oh, what a beaut.
Yeah, there's one upstairs.
Yeah.
The 6-shooters. I had the 6-shooters. That was Billy the Kid.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Always had the 6-shooters ready. He loved those.
Then I had to go to
nice
a water
ivory
weenie.
handle
Do you guys
Colts.
remember those? A water weenie?
Oh, my gosh, the water weenie. What did that do?
So
I do remember that.
It's absurd. I don't even know
Can
how to
I
describe
Google
it
that?
out
Well,
loud.
I'm at home, so I can.
But it basically was like a balloon, a tan balloon that was very long. It would fill up with water, and then it had a nozzle at the front, and you kind of just could squeeze it, and it would shoot a pretty darn good stream out there.
Right.
You could just
my gosh, it did.
You could really laser somebody
thing.
with a water weenie.
You really could, and it was like a pen, and it had a stopper.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. You can get it at Amazon right now.
Stop it.
Don't I
They
need
still
that?
make these? I can't even believe
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
yep.
looking at. Well,
There it
no,
is.
it's not like the ones we had.
No.
It's
Well,
slightly different.
I got a picture of a kid who's got one that looks pretty similar to what we were working
Look
with.
at that. That's incredible.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, certainly remember that. All right, good stuff there. Yeah, I don't know. Uzi, that's old school, man. I didn't even know that those are still around.
Again, where are you going in the United States that requires your bodyguard to have an Uzi?
I assume he's getting the weapon in Texas. I think that's fair to assume. I would say, Kansas City,
No.
I'll tell you this.
I don't.
You're not hunting an antelope with an Uzi. I'll tell you that.
Correct.
Right now.
You're not.
So,
no.
Like, I feel like the last time I saw an Uzi was like Mexico, outside of like a jewelry store, like the security guards in Playa del Carmen. You're walking down the street and you're like, why is that guy just prepared to go to war? Oh, he's defending.
A lot of Uzis and
he's the security guard
AK-47s
for the
down there,
store.
Yeah.
That's a bit of firepower.
It's aggressive.
Yeah.
It is a wee bit aggressive, if you ask me.
I get that it's a
certainly
deterrent,
is.
but it's we're still in the United States. I know things are a little weird right now, but I don't think we've gone to that level. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know. The Uzi's I don't even know where do you pick up an Uzi? You might be able to get one at a gun store right here. Who knows? Anybody can get an Uzi. You want an Uzi, get you one by 2 o'clock.
That I have no knowledge. I can say safely no knowledge of. No knowledge.
All right, coming up next, MMQB, potential first-time Pro Bowl candidates. Our guys, a couple of them make the list. We will get into that coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Injuries during childbirth require experienced counsel. Call the lawyers at Elk & Elk for a clear answer as to what happened during your child's birth. Elk & Elk, a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio today for more. Connor Orr of the MMQB with his 10 NFL players who could make their first Pro Bowl appearance in 2021, and we are all over this list. 6, and John Johnson. The other name to consider on the names to consider list is Wyatt Teller, who, if he wouldn't have gotten hurt last year, we would have been all pro if he wouldn't have gotten hurt.
Yeah.
Here is what he has to say about our two guys. Let's start with Baker. If we keep putting Mayfield on this list, good things will have to happen eventually. Well, Connor, they've already happened. What are we doing?
20 touchdowns,
the Browns
2
quarterback
interceptions.
warranted attention.
Yeah.
Warranted attention last year, but a run-first offense can somewhat mute statistics and make his contributions seem less worthy of Pro Bowl consideration. That said, Mayfield had a better completed air yards average than any full-time quarterback in the NFL last year. He pushes the ball down the field more than almost any quarterback in the NFL. While the system will keep him restrained some, the re-addition of Odell Beckham Jr. and a second year in the offense, plus expected hangovers in Pittsburgh and Baltimore defensively, should lead to career numbers. What's most incredible about that is the line where he talks about completed air yards average than any other full-time quarterback in the NFL and how much he pushes the ball down the field. Did so without a deep threat, truly.
Right. And that's why, you're excited about what the speed of Odell Beckham, Anthony Schwartz, and I'll tell you, the guy who looked faster than I remember, and I can't wait to talk with Chad O'Shea, the wide receiver coach, about it, was Donovan Peoples-Jones. And let's not forget he averaged, 17 yards a catch last year?
Yeah.
Donovan Peoples-Jones is a guy that could become emerging in this year, and then you think 2 years down the road, Donovan Peoples-Jones could end up being something pretty special as with his size, speed. Actually, I'm sorry, I sold him short. He averaged 21.7 yards a catch last year. It was 17 yards a target just about for Donovan Peoples-Jones last year. What a stud. I mean, those are ridiculous numbers. So, yeah, he did it without the deep throw, although DPJ would say, wait, I averaged 21.7 yards a catch. That's not too bad. Hollywood Higgins averaged 16 yards a catch. That's called incredible scheme, incredible route running, and incredible precision from your quarterback. And so lots of credit there, but now you're adding even more athleticism into that mix, and that I think is pretty exciting if you're a Browns fan. He had 20 touchdowns, 2 receptions, and I know people think of us, and when they think in their mind's eye, when they think about the Cleveland Browns, they must see, and there's good reason for it, right? That they see, oh, well, this is a run-first team, a run-first offense. But that is ignoring the fact that over the second half of the season, we dropped back a fair amount. We used a lot of empty sets. We threw the ball a ton. Baker comes out this year, and let's say he throws for, we'll call it 3,600 yards. Well, now you've got that extra game, which messes everything up.
I hate that.
I hate it, too, because now okay, if he does this extrapolated for 17 games, this is our 16-game basis, throws for 3,600 yards, 30 to 32 touchdowns, and single-digit interceptions, we're going to be real tough. Real tough.
Yeah. So, just for perspective, and I think sometimes it's required when you think about, so the Cincinnati game, it's week 7?
That's right.
So it's week 7 before it really clicks, right?
Yes.
It's week 7.
7.
So a lot of what you're seeing statistically is you have 7 games that happened before it went off, before the offense hit, and it was like, oh, I get it. This is what we're doing now. Before the bye week, before everybody started to get on the same page, before all of that, you had 7 weeks of that. So you go. I think it'd be very interesting to look at weeks 9 through 17, or 8 through 17, I guess it would be.
You even have to throw out. This is where you look at, take that Bengals game and then throw out Raiders, Houston, Philly. The weather in those games were atrocious.
Oh, those were dreadful.
So in those 3 games, so week 7 Cincinnati, 297 and 5 touchdowns. Week 8 Vegas, 122, throws 25 passes. Week 10 Houston, 12 of 20, 132. Philly, 12 of 22, 204, no touchdowns. Now here's what we did the rest of the season. 258 and 2 in Jacksonville, 334 and 4 in Tennessee, 343 and 2 Baltimore, 297 and 2 against the Giants, 285 without his receivers against the Jets, and then Week 17 they slowed it down, and then he had a nice game again in the playoffs against the Steelers. So you look at those games, he had 6 straight good weather games over 250 yards passing. 6 straight over 250 yards passing, which 250 yards, by the way, folks, in 16 games, that's 4,000 a season. So he throws 6 straight.
That's right.
At that rate. And in those games, he throws those six games, multiple touchdowns every game, a total of 15, with a total of 2 interceptions. 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and was on pace. An average, the numbers were 297, 258, 334, 343, 297, 285. He's averaging, because it adds up to, he's averaging 300 yards a game. 300 yards a game, almost 3 touchdowns, and 16% of an interception a game.
I think that if you didn't watch the season, and Connor, you're covering the NFL, right? But you're not covering every game of every team, And so I think you just look back at a season statistically. You don't factor in the things that you're factoring in, and that's how you come to the conclusion of making a statement like good things have to happen eventually. Well, they have happened. They happened at an elite level. They did so without Odell Beckham Jr. They did so with the Jets game without anybody he'd ever thrown to in his life, without his head coach at the end of the season. All of these things happened. It did happen. He did that. Like, it does back it up. You just have to be aware of what happened over the course of the season. I'm not holding it against him. He's covering the whole league. It's not like he's going to watch every game and extrapolate when things happened or when things clicked. That's our job. We're doing Cleveland Browns Daily. But that's I think some of, and this gets to the much bigger thing that we've been dealing with all off season, which is the Browns are loaded if Baker. Okay, if what? If he does what he did last year? Because if he does what he did last year, you're a Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Just that simple. Just that simple. Yes, we are, and yes, he showed that, and is going to have a more talented supporting cast around him and a defense that has the potential to be dominant and put him in even better situations.
Yeah. No, it's going to be fun. He just looked so comfortable last week. Comfortable.
Yeah.
Very bouncy, very happy, sure of himself.
Yes.
Several times you would see him, with the receiver who was a half yard, maybe wider or more shallow than he should be on a route, telling him where he needed to be, walking straight to the receiver saying, here's where you need to be on this. You would see those things. That's a man that's confident, that knows what he's doing, that knows what he's seeing, and you're going to get that. And you're going to get some wrinkles, some stuff that we haven't seen before. Just think about what Kevin Stefanski did, the type of genius that happened last year offensively without an ability to meet together, without the ability to think of how much we were limited last year, while still employing. He's still putting in the base offense. How much could you really have variances? Now you're going to have a whole off season to work on variances because the base has been installed with everybody coming back. It's going to be fun.
Yes,
it is.
Very
fun. Going to be fun to watch John Johnson play as well. And Connor says this about John. This feels like one of the bigger no-brainers on the list. Johnson was Pro Football Focus's top safety last year, and for good reason. He shifts over to a Cleveland defense that is loaded at nearly every position. He'll get to orchestrate a secondary that could pick on a still-developing Bengals offense, aging quarterback in Pittsburgh. Johnson is a stout cover man and lines up everywhere with more than 250 slot snaps in the slot last year. This means plenty of opportunities to show off in place where he'll receive the proper attention. This is one of the things that I think even our own fans, there's not a true understanding how great he was because
Correct.
You kind of get swallowed up playing on the Rams with Donald and Ramsey. And as good as he was, it's hard to be noticed along guys like that. You and I have said this, and I think you said it. He has a chance to be a superstar here, like a super-duper star here.
He does, and it's incredible that you would think being in La La Land, it would be more of a media spotlight, but he's going to get that here in Cleveland, and I think that is a great call. He's one of the best safeties in the game, and he's going to be on a defense that I think is going to be flying around, making a ton of plays, and I am very excited to see what John Johnson can do. I think he will be a Pro Bowler. I think he could be an All-Pro, honestly, when it's all said and done here in this defense. And then, you get Wyatt Teller. We got 3 guys on this list. Wyatt Teller's in the other names to consider list. He was just, the top-graded player other than Aaron Donald in the NFL last year at Pro Football Focus.
Yeah.
Regardless of
So
position.
Right. So when Gibby says of the three, which one has the best chance in 2021 of making a Pro Bowl? I mean, to me, Teller seems like a virtual lock because he's going to be doing the exact same. I think all three of these guys. I think it'll still be hardest for Baker
because so
AFC quarterback.
Yeah,
there's so many. But the other two feel like. I mean, Teller could be All Pro this year.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the AFC and you say to yourself, okay, Mahomes. I feel like you can pencil in barring
put him in Sharpie
crazy disaster. In the minds of voters, Josh Allen and probably Lamar Jackson are going to get plenty of consideration right out of the gate. The way Tannehill's played the last couple of years, he'll get some consideration. As it looks now, no Deshaun Watson, but
a lot of buzz on Herbert.
Herbert with the Chargers, certainly. If Aaron Rodgers ends up in the AFC, Aaron Rodgers is going to get a lot of consideration. So it's a big group. It's a big group that, you've got to contend with at that position. There can only be so many. Guard, I also feel like Wyatt Teller needs to be very solid this year, and what he did last year will make people watch him more and thus appreciate his game more. And so, he's it's one of those things like go back to Grant Delpit. Grant Delpit's junior year or sophomore year, I guess it would have been. His sophomore year was so ridiculous. Did something no defensive back had ever done in the history of the SEC. Yeah. That even though his junior year he battled injury and didn't have the same numbers, he still won the award for the best DB in the country because that was the rep that he had earned the season prior. And I think with Teller, you could get that. John Johnson's the one that has been so deserving for so long. And you feel, again, it's crazy to say, but you do feel like the Browns are very much a front and center, high-profile team.
So, we are. You're going to get a lot of games in prime time. You're not going to have, while certainly Miles and Denzel are stars, they're not to the level that Donald and Ramsey are. And the other thing is we're going to play a lot at 1 o'clock. We're either going to play at 1 o'clock or we're going to play the biggest game of the week. The Rams still play games at 4:05, a lot of those games. So that's kind of a window that unless you're watching, the game of the week, a lot of those regional games get missed. Yep. And so that's a handful of those games that gets missed. And I do think you just get swallowed. I mean, there's so much about Donald and so much about Ramsey on that Rams defense that he just got swallowed up from an attention standpoint. But he won't hear. He will not hear, and he'll absolutely shine. Gibby wants to know, is there someone else that should be on this list? Who would you pick who has not made the Pro Bowl on our team who you think would have a shot this year?
Who has not made the Pro Bowl on our team?
Who has not made a Pro Bowl, who you think has a shot this year?
Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
It's the first name I thought too. I know that's crazy, but it's the first name I thought. I just think he's going to be put in a great position to flash.
Well, I had to go through my mind who hasn't made a Pro Bowl on our team. The other one would be probably J.C. Tretter.
J.C. and Owusu-Koramoah are the two guys that I thought. I mean, it's crazy J.C. hasn't. It's pretty ridiculous that he hasn't.
Very ridiculous.
What about Jed Wills?
Jed, sure. Absolutely. The line is the place to start. Smart. But I was trying to go – just a little more exciting. I think J.O.K. that's the name that pops into my mind. There's something about that guy that seems pretty special. Will he play enough?
I just think that's the way he's going to play.
We have so many linebackers all of a sudden now. All of a sudden, everybody hated our linebackers, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a second,
right.
Who's going to make the team, and who's going to play?
Right.
Grant.
Yeah.
I could see Grant having a monster year. I could see Ronnie having a monster year. I could see Tank McKinley shocking the world and having a ton of sacks this season. You put Tack on one side and
our defense going to open a lot of eyes.
Clowney inside next to Miles. He's going to have some pretty favorable matchups. Rushing the quarterback.
Yeah. No, it's there. Oh boy, yeah, it's there, and I think that it's amazing because I saw him for 2 practices, and I don't want to be too crazy because it's 2 practices. But when you athletically stand out amidst NFL superstars, just from a quick twitch, your burst, your ability to cut ground, when you stand out amongst that, buddy, that's an attention getter. And Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah has my attention, and he'll have this fan base's attention in a very big way.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It's going to be pretty special. Yeah. Coming up at the top of the hour, we will continue our OTA Team Camp Tour in Atlanta, and we'll be joined by a great friend of the program, the great D. Orlando Ledbetter. That is coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If you live and breathe football, you know sometimes keeping your priorities straight can be a challenge. Unfortunately, the same can be true when you gamble. If you find that gambling is affecting other parts of your life, get some help, get some tips. Responsible gambling at keepitfunohio.com. When we talk Falcons, there's one man we want to talk to. He is a great friend of the program. He's a great D'Orlando Ledbetter. He is the Falcons beat writer for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He joins us now on the hotline. D'Orlando, thank you so much for the time, my great friend. Let's just start with this one. And I'm curious, we're all a little curious on this. So they go with Pitts in the draft. Julio Jones is out. What is the objective right now for this franchise? Because there were quarterbacks on the table. They went with Pitts, which I would think would be to continue with Matt Ryan and to continue this window a little bit. But I don't know that they're a contender. There seem to be a lot of questions. Where do you stand on it?
Yeah, no question. They are kind of doing a mixed rebuild. They're calling it restacking. And if you weren't on board with the new regime and them setting their foundation, then you were, you asked yourself to leave. So we've seen it before when a new regime comes in, new GM, new coach. Some guys are on board, some guys are not for whatever reason, and you ship them out. We saw it back in 2008 when Thomas Dimitroff shipped off D'Angelo Hall on his first move as a GM. So same thing here, wasn't a meeting of the minds. Julio didn't think they were building to win. Maybe he was in the group that wanted a new quarterback and then asked his way out of here. So he's in Tennessee and is on board with his new team and not with the team he's been with for the last 10 years.
D'Orlando, was there some tension between he and Matt Ryan, kind of what you just said, hinted at it, and then, they're talking about Matt Ryan maybe making fun a little bit of his lack of touchdowns for Julio Jones. What was that relationship actually like? Because they were quite productive together.
Yeah, publicly it's fine. We've been left to speculate because, Julio was doing just well with the team until Matt Ryan signed a 6-year, $150 million deal. Then after that, Julio wanted to renegotiate every year. So, there was bad blood built up between Julio and the front office. Whether it was Matt was involved, we don't know that. They only speak of each other in reverential terms in public. So nothing personal, but it might have been some business issues there that we were left to cipher through. I know the Falcons stopped hiring Arthur Smith, who was represented by Jimmy Sexton, along with Julio. Maybe that could smooth things out, but that necessarily didn't happen. So, the two parties are elected to split ways.
D'Orlando, what do you think Matt Ryan has left in the tank?
Yeah, I think he's got a lot left in the tank. I mean, the problem the Falcons have nothing to do with the quarterback. I mean, the quarterback is getting the ball to everybody. He's keeping you in every game. You lost 8 games by 1 score. You got a line that can't block. He's been sacked 131 times over the last 3 years, and you can't run the ball. That's got nothing to do with Matt Ryan.
It doesn't. Well, they go out and what do you expect this team to look like? Now you got Kyle Pitts. You traded for Hayden Hurst a year ago. You still have Calvin Ridley, who was incredible in the games that Julio missed last year. Do you expect this team to run a lot of the 2 tight ends that we saw, in Tennessee with Arthur Smith? And they don't have Derrick Henry back there, but is that kind of what you think they're going to try to do?
Yeah, that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to run a 12, personnel grouping. They could go 22 even. They kept the fullback around. They got 7 tight ends, so that's a big tip-off of where we're headed here. He's not going to drop back 45 times a game, I can tell you that, because he knows that line won't hold up. And Arthur Smith, he came up from Tennessee where he learned, he was a lineman in college at North Carolina, but he learned his NFL, cutting his teeth in the NFL under Mike Mularkey and Russ Grimm, 2 old power football guys. So they're thinking clearly if they can coach this lineup into a better run blocking unit and then just kind of slip in some passing off of the play action to Ridley, Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst. But, yeah, they're definitely trying to power up here and maybe even be like an old AFC North team and run that ball on people.
Well, D'Orlando, how exactly are they going to do that? How have they addressed the offensive line? How have they addressed, as you said, an inability to run the ball?
Yeah, they did draft two linemen, Mayfield from Michigan and Drew Dahlman from Stanford. But rookies don't come in and help you. So I mean, I don't really know where that's coming from. They got Matt Gano, who did play better than the starting right tackle last year. They got a left guard. They got a right left tackle. They did sign Josh Andrews, who's bounced around the league, but has been with some good line groups in Philadelphia and in Indianapolis. Right now, he's the starting left guard, or at least was in the gym class off-season program. So, they want to think Jalen Mayfield could take over left guard, and maybe Matt Gano could take over right tackle, and you got a better outside zone, inside zone blocking line, and you're not dropping back 45 times a game to keep Matt Ryan upright.
What's amazing about it is they've made some investment in the line. Jake Matthews was a first-round pick. Lindstrom was a first-round pick. Caleb McGarry was a first-round pick. So they've made some investment. It just doesn't feel like it's panned out the way that they wanted to. And you mentioned running. Part of it's what happens up front. You know the scheme is going to be good. There's talented pass catchers and Pitts and Ridley and Gage and Hurst and even Zacchaeus, I don't know if I said his name right, 17. I remember watching him run around last year. But do they think Mike Davis, who I thought filled in very well, by the way, for Christian McCaffrey, that is he the guy? Are they looking at him as being the guy?
Yeah, well, they think it's a committee because he's not the guy. He's not Derrick Henry. The committee is going to be made up of him and some guys that they have now. Cordarrelle Patterson, the kickoff returner, they're calling him a running back now. So he's number 2 at running back. They got a kid here, Quadri Olison, who was fifth-round pick 2 years ago out of Pitt, who couldn't get off the bench last year. But they kept him and cut the other 3 running backs. So, he's a bigger back. They like him. Right now, that's your committee. And you got Tony Brooks-James, who's been trying to stick on the practice squad as the 4th back. And you brought in a couple backs from Huntley from Ball State, big runner up there, small, stocky guy here from Atlanta. And then the Hawkins kid, Tavian Hawkins from Louisville, more of a speed back. So you can't count on any of that. What you know is Mike Davis was a good backup in Carolina. Patterson was a good spot runner, a couple carries a game, but as a kickoff returner. And Quadri Olison couldn't play because he wouldn't pick up the pass protection. So, that's the state of the backfield situation here. And I would say look and see around the league when, players start to get cut, they're going to be number 4 on the waiver wire. So that might be an area where they can, get some support or get some legitimate backs behind Mike Davis.
You mentioned all those one-loss games, and it seems like anytime I would flip over to Red Zone and catch the end of a Falcons game, that's what you would see, is an opposing team's offense marching down the field. The camera would cut to Matt Ryan looking at the scoreboard like, here we go again. So then the natural thing is we've talked a lot about everything that they've done offensively, but defensively, holes too. So what are your expectations for that side of the ball? How will it get better?
Yeah, well, Dean Pease, the old Miami, started at Miami of Ohio, Northwestern Ohio guy. He came out of retirement to be the defensive coordinator here. So, the Browns fans will remember him from his Baltimore days. So he's putting in a 3-4 multiple stack defense where they're going to flip in and out of the 3-4. But the secondary can't get but better. They cut all the safeties and, going to replace the right cornerback. So, the only cornerback they're going to keep is A.J. Terrell from last year. So they brought in Deron Harmon, Eric Harris to be the safeties, drafted a safety, Richie Grant, and brought over Fabian Moreau from the Washington football team to be the right corner. And then they still have Isaiah Oliver and Kendall Sheffield, the guys y'all saw chasing receivers a lot in the fourth quarter last year. So that can be better. The back end could be better, but you still don't have a pass rush up front. You got Grady Jarrett and the rest of the guys. So they're going to have to blitz the linebackers. They're going to have to bring the safeties, bring the corners. Otherwise they're just going to be sitting ducks back there. The only other possibility upgrade would be Dante Fowler. He played last year on a high ankle sprain, then he put his hamstring, and it was just a wasted year with 3 sacks. So if he can come give you something off the edge, and take some pressure off of Grady, then the guys in the back end got a shot to stick with the receivers and play some respectable defense. You know, we're not expecting the 85 Bears right now, but just don't be the 32nd ranked pass defense. You know, make them move up to 22nd. That might be enough.
So, Orlando, when we talk about this and we kind of go through this roster and this team and what, you know, it sounds like could be realistic expectations, it's very much a work in progress. Do you wonder, hey, maybe we should have taken a guy at 4 for the future and gotten a quarterback? Or is the thinking we'll be up close there again? What do you kind of make of the decision? Because there's no Pitts was my favorite player in this draft, regardless of position. So I think they got a superstar there. But what did you kind of think about, you know, the fact that you go through and you don't have – this isn't an elite talented roster, both sides of the ball, especially on defense, to go with Matt Ryan rather than – get a quarterback that they like? Do you think maybe it was that they liked Trey Lance, and if it wasn't Lance, it was, you know, Pitts or bust?
No, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't like Justin Fields. That's the guy who a lot of people wanted here in Atlanta, former Georgia, Ohio State guy, but he wasn't as high on their board. Trey Lance was second, so, you know, in their quarterback voting, so he wasn't there. The other one was the tackle, you know, Penei Sewell. That would have made your team better right away, a lot better than Pitts, because you don't even know if you can get Pitts the ball. So yeah, that was the big thing. Now, if Pitts is the generational talent, you know, your job is now not to waste it, because you can't prove – well, you got somebody that can get it to him if you can keep him upright. So, you know, there again, if this line doesn't work out, you got a line coach coming from college, which we all know that's, you know, usually want the old grumpy guy, Paul Boudreaux, Alex Gibbs, or, you know, Tom about some of them old linemen, old lineman coaches. So how's this young college coach going to get this line in shape where Matt Ryan can get the ball to Pitts? That's their biggest question. So it made much sense to me to go take Penei Sewell, plug him in at left tackle, stabilize your line. And, you know, I would have tried to keep Julio too, but, you know, that didn't happen. So, you know, it's basic football stuff that they went for the shiny object over the basic football guy here, and we'll see how it works out for him. Quarterback-wise, you know, I'm fine with Matt Ryan. He was, you know,
sure.
You keep him upright, you win. When he's protected, you win. He goes to playoffs. I mean, people talking about Matt Ryan like, you know, like this is a scrub or something, man. This was a league MVP just, 4 years ago.
He's excellent. Yeah. I just think you'd want to figure out a way to make Julio Jones happy for Matt, to keep him there with Matt Ryan. You know, you take away a huge weapon there.
Yeah, that would have been my priority number one. I'd been sleeping outside his driveway, even though it was the pandemic. We would have socially distanced, but whatever problems he had, we would have fixed them.
Sort those things out. We always win when we have you on, buddy. Appreciate your time on a Tuesday. Thanks, pal.
All right, Beau and Nathan. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir.
That is a great Orlando Ledbetter. We'll hit the categories on this, and I just got to say, obviously, we're not hosting Falcons Daily. I wasn't totally prepared for the amount of issues they have.
I knew their defense was awful a year ago.
Awful.
Dreadful. It doesn't seem much better to me, which makes their whole – it's like they're half in, half out.
Their whole thought process
makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to
me. They appear like a team that's ready for a complete rebuild, start from scratch, and they tried to Band-Aid a hemorrhage is what it seems like.
Yes.
And in doing so, getting rid of part of the bandage with Julio. Like if you kept Julio,
okay,
found a way to keep him, okay, fine, let's outscore people. Let's try to outscore people.
We're going to run Julio and Ridley and Pitts and Hurst, and we're going to have the most dominant two receiver, two tight end, offense in the league.
Right, but they didn't.
No.
So they're kind of in no man's land,
now
it seems.
Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage, which doesn't sound nearly as intimidating.
No, it doesn't.
By the way, when we get to these categories, which I'm very excited about, there is one name that is, in my mind, a stunning omission on these categories. A stunning omission.
Shocking. I just don't know who it would ever be. I don't know if I'd ever be able to guess.
I don't think it's what you think I'm saying. This is truly, legitimately a shocking omission.
A shocking. Okay. All right. This will be fun. We'll do this coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Tune in to News 5 Tuesday, next Tuesday, in fact, 8 o'clock. Browns Countdown, top 10
1
moments
week, baby.
presented by Bridgestone. Dr. Z and John Doss. Appearances by Tim Couch, Jarvis Landry, as they count down the top 10 moments in Cleveland Browns history as voted on by you, the fans. You can watch it. 8 o'clock. My DVR is set. Let's hit the categories on the Atlanta Falcons. Let's start with, we always do uniform out of the gates. They have at their disposal I think, flawless uniform. They have one that you don't change anything. They actually have a couple because the one that was introduced when Deion was there, the all-black one, is a stunning uniform. They also have the one when they wore the silver pants, and they wore them all the way through Jamal Anderson. They wore them to the Super Bowl with the black hat. And they also have a red hat one.
Steve Bartkowski.
That's a beautiful.
It's awesome.
I mean, they got two that are awesome.
They wore those in '94.
Nope. As a throwback?
Uh-huh. Now, I don't know how they're able to do that because I have a picture. I have a Jeff George card where he's wearing the red helmet in
with
94.
The black shirt, right?
No, well, this one was the road.
Or
it was
a
white shirt.
Yeah, they wore them before the NFL went to the one helmet rule. There's Julio early on in Julio and Matt Ryan's run. They wore the red hat with the black and the silver, and it's jeez.
And the black hat with the.
And instead, they did what they did, and I don't.
So when everybody assumed my stunning omission was Jeff George from this list, the first name out of your mouth that ever played for the Falcons this entire segment was not on this list, Deion Sanders. To me, he is the most identifiable Atlanta Falcon of all time.
So this is an interesting one here. Okay, let's have the conversation. So Gibby's first question is, by the way, their uniforms now are an F minus. They have the one throwback that's good. That's
They're
it.
fine.
Everything else is just stupid.
Yeah,
that's just stupid. I mean, they got a gradient one.
The gradient
one's
terrible.
ATL, like what is it? It's 2001 now. All of a sudden, or are we on Total Request Live? What are we doing? So this is the question: is Julio Jones the best player to ever suit up for the Falcons? So the tricky thing here is he the best player to ever suit up for the Falcons, or is he the best player in Falcons history? Because I think those are and Julio is very worthy of being in both conversations. He's very worthy in being in both conversations. Deion's tenure there is relatively short.
5 years.
Yeah, it's relatively short, where Julio's is much longer. Deion is one of the starting corners on the all-time NFL team.
Yep.
When you think of him, what franchise do you associate him to?
I think of the Falcons, and I realize he had the monster year with the Niners, and then he did go on to play 5 years with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, he played more games for the Falcons than he did for the Cowboys. He was a 3-time All-Pro with the Cowboys, a 2-time All-Pro with the Falcons.
It's funny, when I think of him as a pro, I'll be honest with you, the 1 year with the 49ers jumps into my head pretty promently.
Yeah, those beautiful unis, those 94. Right.
The white pants. They won the Super Bowl, and he
was 6 picks.
He felt like the thing that put them over the top.
He had 6 picks.
Like he was.
Yes.
Yeah.
3 touchdowns. He had 3 pick sixes.
Yeah.
3 of them. 303 yards of
unreal.
Interception returns that year that led the league. He was unreal.
Yeah.
Here's one that I don't even remember this season at all, not one bit. I remember his comeback with Baltimore. That I remember. I do not remember 2000 with the Washington football team at all. Not even.
So
the
only thing I remember about it, I don't remember him playing there, but I remember the press conference of him at the press conference. Because, and I remember Tony Kornheiser wrote a glowing piece on it because he loves Deion because he was interesting. And I remember reading the piece in the Washington Post, but I can't place him in that uniform at all. I mean, that would have
4 picks that year.
Had to be. He had 4 picks. I'll be danged. Yeah, he was remarkable. I think Julio is the answer to the best Falcon of all time.
Only 2 first-team All-Pros. I mean, Deion had that in 5 years.
Is that really it?
Yeah, that's it.
But he has more I mean, they just had that stat, like his receiving yards per year, like only Rice outpaced him, and Rice played a lot more games.
He led
I mean,
the NFL in receiving yards twice. Here's the other thing. Here's the other problem. Do you know that he never had more than 10 touchdowns in a season, and he only had one season with 10 touchdowns at all? One season with double digit?
I wouldn't have had that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had that.
Well, that's why they had that touchdown nickname for him, or lack thereof.
I would not have had that. I would have had him been more productive in the red zone in my mind's eye.
Somebody said the person that they would most associate with the Falcons is Michael Vick.
Fair?
Fair, but I think Dion. I mean, I remember the house that Dion built. That's what he would call the Georgia Dome.
Yeah, I mean, I think Julio. I mean, Julio's there 11 years.
Yes.
He's a Pro Bowler 8 times and first team All Pro twice. I mean, dude, these years are monster. 104 for 1593, 136 for 1871, 83 for 1409, 88 for 1444, 113 for 1677, 99 for 1394. Look at the yards per catch. 15,
He's
14,
elite.
17, 16, 15, 14. Jeez.
He just doesn't score.
It's heady stuff. Yeah,
Here are
it's
his
heady stuff. I mean,
touchdowns. 2,
his lowest
6,
yards.
8,
But
6,
why?
3, 8, 6, 3.
Right, but I mean, that just seems like a statistical anomaly. It doesn't even make sense.
But over the course of a decade, he's got 60 touchdowns in 11 seasons. Like, he doesn't even average.
Yeah.
He averages just over 5 touchdowns a season. That has
I wonder
to
if
matter.
who did they, well, that's some of that's, it's not all his deal.
No, but it's wild.
It's I won't disagree with you on that. I mean, his yards per game, the lowest yards per game number he had as a Falcon was a rookie, 73.8. Ace. I mean, yeah, I feel fine with him. I think the answer, it's a two-parter. The best player to ever play for the Falcons is Deion Sanders. The best Falcon of all time has got to be Julio with the 11 years. I think that probably puts it over the top at this point.
Jesse Tuggle?
Fact or fiction? He was a great one. Valdosta State Blazer, Jesse Tuggle. He was a great one. He certainly was. I mean, it was lean years for them, buddy. It was hard times.
It was hard times. I'm pulling him up. So Tuggle, let's see here. I'm pulling him up.
Probably a lot of led the league in tackles. I remember his football card always had like a lot of like.
5-time Pro Bowler, led the league in tackles 4 times, and played from 87 to 2000, all with the Falcons.
Jeez. Yeah. I mean,
5-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah. Yeah, not better than Julio, but he
Nickname
was really good. He's probably the defensive answer.
The Hammer.
Yeah. One of the great what-ifs, you want to do one of the what-ifs, it's fun. It's the Michael Vick, if he were drafted now and they didn't make him try to do West Coast offense. Like if he could play the way Kyler Murray plays.
Oh, man.
Or Lamar.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that would have been a real treat to watch.
How about
fact or fiction, Atlanta should have drafted a quarterback in the first round.
I think fact, but because we said, I don't understand. They don't have a coherent strategy.
I don't know the plan.
I don't get the plan.
I don't.
By the way, thinks we have
Atlanta
what ifs. What about 1991? Brett Favre drafted by the Atlanta Falcons in the second round.
Yep.
Throws 4 passes in his career for them in 2 games. 2 of them are intercepted, by the way. And then the very next year, 1992, he is a Pro Bowler for the Green Bay Packers.
And was that Chris Miller they kept him? Who was the quarterback they kept?
I feel like it's around the Chris Miller time. Let's see.
Yeah, they kept Chris Miller instead of Favre. Yeah, did not nail that analysis. Fact or fiction, Matt Ryan's the best quarterback to ever play for the Falcons. He won the MVP. What are you going to do? Yeah.
I think
Took him to a Super Bowl. They're up 28-3 in a Super Bowl.
Right.
Jeez. What do you want for him?
Boy.
Gibbe says Tony Gonzalez, Chief or Falcon when his name comes up?
Chief.
Yeah. He does note here, though, All-Pro playing for Atlanta, but, yeah, he's a Chief.
Yeah, he was a Pro Bowler. Hold on. He was a Pro Bowler 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight years as a Chief, with 5 of them being All-Pro seasons. He's a Chief. Yep. But I was good. It was a good job of leading the witness with some facts to make it sound pretty impressive.
I knew you'd appreciate that.
I did.
No one loves a leading the witness more than you. Jamal Anderson or Warwick Dunn as your running backs. I would go Jamal here, and I love Warwick Dunn. I mean, he's a Seminole, great dude, does incredible stuff in the community. But your first team All-Pro. Anderson was unbelievable the year they went to the Super Bowl.
Oh, the Dirty Birds. Yeah, he was. I would agree. Plus, he's a cool guy. I like Jamal.
You got to meet him a few times?
Yeah, I
you
did
do
some
the fantasy stuff for CBS.
Definitely some TV stuff with him. Yeah, he's a very nice guy. The Dent Master, who's down there, said another one. I think an overlooked Atlanta Falcon is Hot Roddy White.
Yeah. Andre Rison was a fun Falcon,
Bad
too.
Moon. Yeah.
Bad Moon Rison.
4 straight Pro Bowls, 1 first-team All-Pro for Roddy White.
Yeah, he is forgotten a little bit.
6 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He produced more touchdowns. He has more receiving touchdowns as an Atlanta Falcon than Julio Jones. Would you have had that?
I'd have to go back and you'd have to talk to somebody who covered the team. Like, did they just use Julio as a decoy? It doesn't make sense. Because the amount of yards he caught for, it doesn't make sense that he doesn't have more.
He also leads the league in, like, getting tackled at the 1. That happened to Julio Jones all the time. All the time.
Did it?
Oh, yeah.
Get caught from behind.
Not covered, just like it's a deep out or a deep cross, and it's just he's at the 1.
Down at the 1, yeah. I would absolutely. I do not have the experience that you do in Atlanta, having went to college there like you did. But my experiences in Atlanta have always been it's a hell of a good time.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great road trip. Falcons games are a lot of fun. And it's easy to get to, easy airport to fly. You can fly there direct from anywhere.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely. What would you be your ideal
I haven't lived
Atlanta
there in
road
20
trip?
years, but when I went back there with my buddies
all the same.
a couple of years ago, it's great. Midtown is great. The Virginia Highlands are great for kind of like outdoor pubs, bars. There's excellent food everywhere you want to go. You can go to Piedmont Park, which is a beautiful park in the middle of the city. There's awesome golf everywhere you look. There's great golf. It's just a wonderful city. It's a great city.
People don't realize how big it is that they have 3 downtowns because they have downtown, midtown, and Buckhead.
Yeah, you don't want to stay
separate
downtown. You want to stay midtown.
No.
Midtown's where you want to be.
Right. Yeah, but it kind of rotated because when I was down there 20 years ago, that was a place we used to go a lot. You know, go to Braves games or Falcons games. SEC championship game I covered there. And at that time, it was you got to go to Buckhead. Like that's all anybody did was go to Buckhead 20 years ago. That was it.
Yeah, that's when I was in college.
And then, yeah, and it was a good time.
It was a good time.
To see. It's a good town. It's a really good town. You'll enjoy that certainly. All right, coming up next. And by the way, so to me, this is like a 5-6 win team. This is a road to nowhere team.
Totally middling and too good to be the worst and not great.
It's the worst spot to be.
Yeah, I don't really get it. I don't understand. I don't really understand what they're doing.
I don't either.
That was kind of my question to D. Orlando. Like, what are we doing?
I don't know.
I don't know.
The roster's wild. It makes very little sense whatsoever. The great Mike Prefer. You will hear from him coming up next on the program. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Yeah, just imagine kicking back in the evenings in your very own hot tub. Now imagine actually being able to afford one. Northeast Factory Direct buys hot tubs by the truckload, so you can get a 6-person hot tub with the lounger and the lights and still afford your summer activities. Think about owning a hot tub. You think it's going to be a pain? Not at Northeast Factory Direct. Their hot tubs come with an exclusive hardtop cover. You don't have to worry about safety or convenience. Plus, you're going to get a lifetime warranty on the cover. Imagine that. Never have to replace it. Looking for a way to stay active? Amazing swim spas there. It's like a hot tub, but you can adjust the jets, give you a gentle current, and use them year-round. You're going to spend and make this type of investment. You got to use it year-round, and you can at Northeast Factory Direct. See for yourself, West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, or Freeway Drive in Macedonia. You can shop them online anytime at northeastfactorydirect.com. Last week at the podium, our special teams coordinator, Mike Prefer. Let's have a listen.
I thought it was
you guys are down
to have everybody here. As I told the guys at the beginning of the week that this week was important. We wanted to set the tone for training camp, and I believe we did that. And we covered 5 different phases. The only thing we didn't get to was field goal block, but we did the other core phases. We did field goal today. Kind of got the baseline where we need to be, and then we got to come back ready to work during training camp.
Yeah, hey Mike, could you at this point break down where things kind of stand with the return game? The guys are going to return punts and kicks in terms of personnel.
Yeah, so it's great to have JoJo back. I think he's moving around really well. I know he's probably not totally 100%, but he's getting there. And obviously he brings the quickness and explosion that we didn't have when he got hurt last year. Donovan's been around this week. He's catching punts like he hasn't caught a punt since January, and he's catching them like he's going to catch them every day. Did a great job. Dearness Johnson, Demetric Felton's the guy we've got working back there as a punt returner as well. Ryan Switzer, another guy. So we have a lot of competition. We have a lot of different type of skill sets, and to me, it's a wide open job. So we're going to see what happens here down the road.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Natson too. I mean, do you feel like you can rely on him to be ready for camp, or how do you approach that part of it?
Joshi and our medical staff has done a great job getting him ready. He's worked extremely hard. They've worked extremely hard with them. We just got to trust their judgment, and if they say he's 100%, we're going to throw everything at him and get him in the preseason games to see what he can do.
And I was trying to find what I wrote about the Dallas Morning News ratings about the special teams. I don't think you stood very well. I don't know if you put any stock in that, or just how do you feel about how important it is for you guys to improve to reach this level?
Good question, Marla. I think fair question. We've got a lot of improvement to do. We need to improve our return game immensely. We started the season slow on kickoff coverage, and I thought we ended the season well. Paul DiPodesta uses a formula that basically takes into account everything during a game, and he gives a point to every play with his analytics. And I like that because when we play those 3 games in November, they're horrendous weather. And obviously, it's easier to have better stats. And like when I was in Minnesota, we played 9 games a year indoors, including Detroit. So it was easier to have better net punt, do a better job on kickoff. And I'm not making excuses because the weather is the weather. And I love the weather in Cleveland. I think it's that to our advantage. But I know we started slow, but we ended really, really strong. I thought we won, I think, at least 7 out of the last 8 games, including the 2 playoff games on special teams. And that's what I look for. Do I like pridefully, do I like our stats look better? Of course. And we need to do a better job across the board. And that'll be the constant message during training camps, is constant improvement every single day. Not so much to get the stats better, but to put our team in position to win games.
Hey, Mike, a couple of kicking questions for you. First off, with the couple guys you got in, just what have you seen from them, and how do you see that competition shaping up for camp?
So Cody, we asked him to get stronger in this offseason, because last offseason, we had the virus, and he didn't want to go to the weight room. His wife was pregnant at the time, and he didn't want to jeopardize anything. Nobody knew what was going on, and I don't blame him. And I think he lost some of that strength. So when he showed up for camp, he was not quite as strong as he's been. He put on 7-8 pounds of muscle, and he looks really good. He's stronger. He's kicking off better. He feels more confident. He's still got a little bit of work to do, but I think he's had a really good spring, and he's positioned himself very well for this competition. Chase is a young man that I really like, coming out of Illinois a couple of years ago, and he's bounced around the league, as you guys know. But Chase provides great competition for Cody, and they were very, very even this entire spring. And Today was the only day we could do team because we had all our offensive line back, and we did a team today. And I think Chase was 6 for 7 and Cody was 5 for 7, which we need to improve. We're like, I don't want to be 7 for 7, to be honest with you. Across the board, it's a beautiful day today, but it's going to be great competition. And I think it's not so much field goals and PATs. That probably takes a little bit more precedence, but kickoffs as well. We need to improve on kickoffs, and our kickoffs, the kicking part of our kickoffs needs to improve as well.
And can you teach distance at this level? More so with field goals than kickoffs, and if you can, how do you go about doing that? And I guess what I'm getting at is it seems like going into this season, long field goals are going to be very important to you guys. With the expectation the offense is going to be scoring a lot of touchdowns, you're not going to be dependent on those short field goals. But if you can be able to knock home those 50 to 55 yarders when opportunities present themselves. So can you teach distance with kickers and teach them to kind of stretch it out a little bit?
Well, I think being stronger is going to help. Both these guys are strong young kickers. I think when you go into any game, the distance is going to be predicated by the weather, to be quite honest with you. It's going to be, headwind, tailwind, crosswind, et cetera, dog pound end, our locker room end, especially in our stadium, obviously. But, I don't know if you so much teach it, but you can help them and coach them in that you don't want to change your technique a whole lot with the longer field goals. If you think they have an opportunity to make this kick because of their leg strength, then what do you do is remind them that their technique should not change. It's got to be in their mindset. It's, yes, they got to stroke it a little bit harder, but it's got to be a PAT type mindset or a shorter field goal type mindset. So they don't, try to do something extraordinary, turn their hips or push the ball or over strides where they jam themselves. That's the stuff that we can teach, that I can teach as a coach. But these guys, they'll know that we're not going to put them in a position to fail. If we put them out there on a 53-yarder, then we believe that they're going to make it. If it's an end of game situation into the dog pound in a rough weather, then they got to go out and do it. Maybe they do something a little bit more oomph to drive that ball into a win. But those are the things that we work on, that we talk about, that we study constantly.
Hey, Mike, I know he hasn't been practicing the last few weeks, but is Anthony Schwartz a guy that you view as a possible returner in either punt or kickoff?
Probably, because he hasn't done it. We tried with punts a little bit early before he hurt his hamstring. He was struggled a little bit because it's really new. It's a lot harder. We've talked before that punts are hard to catch in kickoffs. I would love for him to develop into a kickoff returner. He's got explosive speed, as you guys know. He's got a lot of confidence in his speed. I was joking with him that we could actually have somebody catch it and we could hand it to him and then let him take off with the ball. But I would like to teach him to get to the point where he's comfortable catching kickoffs out there. I would also like to use him as a gunner. I would like to use him as an L1 or R1 on kickoff. He's got the mindset. He's got the size. He certainly has the speed, and he just hasn't done it. So it's going to be new to him. And obviously being out part of the spring has hurt him a little bit. But at the end of the day, we're going to get him ready because we know he's going to be there on game day, ready to roll.
Hey, Mike, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned Felton earlier. Just what did you like about him coming out, and, how do you think he can fit in for you?
They had me interview him probably a month or so before the draft. I really like Dimitri's attitude. I liked his intelligence. He's got a great personality. He loves the game of football, everything you're looking for in a young player. He's got great quickness. I don't think he has tremendous speed, but he's got good speed. And I think what he needs to use is his strengths. Use his quickness, use his ability to be a playmaker, use his ability to be very, very versatile. I truly believe he has an opportunity to be
back in 20.
Truly believe he can help us as a gunner and on kickoff coverage because he's got the right mindset. He likes the game. He's tough. He's available. He's accountable. I know offense threw a lot at him this spring, and I think he's responded very well. And we've done a lot of drill work with him, and we're training him, like I said, to be a dual returner. And I'm excited about his future. I really like Dimitri.
You're up.
I kind of feel like, you remember, I don't know if they still do this or not, but remember when people bring an apple into school for the teacher?
Yeah.
I feel like if you're not somebody who is like, dude, this guy, you're a dude, you're starting, nothing to worry about. Everybody else,
apple for
free some apples.
Yeah, we're watching Ted Lasso right now. We just started it, which I'm enjoying so far. And
do you have to have Apple TV to watch that?
I believe so. That's where we're watching it. But he brings his boss biscuits every morning, so he can have biscuits with the boss.
Biscuits is cookie.
That's
in
right.
England, right?
You've got that right. You're a worldly man.
So they call cookies biscuits, and they call potato chips crisps. I believe I have that right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bring him some biscuits. That will be interesting. As Jim talked about yesterday, we're wondering who's going to return things, who's going to return kicks and punts, and can you be dynamic, in that facet of it. And certainly the rookies, you mentioned Felton there in the conversation. DPJ handled a lot of that last year. Schwartz is a guy with that speed is tantalizing, certainly. So there's going to be some opportunity there and quite a bit of competition. And then at linebacker, that's the trickiest, one of the trickiest spots on the roster in terms of who's going to make the team. If you can do this at an elite level, you're going to make the team.
Yeah, that's the path. And then when you're a guy like Felton, who we mentioned at the very end, I see him as a returner in both punt and kickoff. I see him as a gunner on the coverage teams. And then he's a guy who can play running back, who can play receiver. All of a sudden, if you can provide 5 jobs of service, that makes one roster spot to devote to you really what you might need 3 roster spots for. So if you're Felton, that's your path.
Yes, because what that does is that allows you now, if you want to keep 9, 10 offensive linemen, that's how you do it, because you're saving me spots, because you can do 3 things. Versatile. Be versatile. Have some versatility. That will be the key to making this roster for a lot of these guys this year. It's going to be an incredible competition, and a lot of the jobs are going to be made working for Mike Prefer on special teams, to say the least. And that's the difference. A lot of times between the good and great teams are a play here, play there on special teams, and we have one of the best of the business watching over our unit, which is good. Very, very good. Still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. NBA Draft Lottery is tonight, 8:30. Cavs with the 5th best odds to get the number 1 pick. This is such a different. We had the Zion draft a couple of years ago, and that one is a game changer. Which, by the way, last week is they're starting to leak it out that he doesn't want to be in New Orleans. So even when you win the lottery, it doesn't necessarily save you the way that you think it should. But you think about the guys they're going to be drafting are 18 and 19-year-olds. So and you hear people say, "Isn't that crazy?" Like, "Oh, Cade Cunningham, he's the for sure." Are you sure? I don't know. Maybe he is. I don't know. It's hard to say. The guy who just won MVP was a second-round pick in the NBA draft. Giannis didn't go number 1 overall. Doncic didn't go number 1 overall. Trae Young didn't go number 1 overall. Marvin Bagley went ahead of Trae Young and Luka Doncic. It's really difficult to hit on this. And the Cavs have the 5th best odds tonight to get that number 1 pick. So that's where they sit on that front. But it's a guarantee of nothing. It really is. And the Cavs have had so much lottery luck with LeBron and Kyrie and even the Wiggins pick, which turned into Love. They've had a lot go their way in the lottery. I'm hopeful that they can pull it off because it would be fun. But, the kid that I watched that I liked the most was Jalen Suggs, the kid out of Gonzaga. I liked him a lot, but I don't know if I don't know if they're drafting for position or not. It seemed like they got a bunch of point guards.
You can't add another small ball-dominant guy to this roster. Not to get all Cavs talk, but you can't do it. So either somebody's got to go, or you have to do something else. They've got to figure that out. They do not have a roster that is built to win in today's NBA right now, clearly.
No. And I don't know if they're going to get that answer tonight because it's just you're not getting a ready-made guy. You're going to get someone who's going to have to grow, and you're going to have to nurture him. That's the way that'll go. And we'll continue to grow and nurture this week. We're headed into our first Friday tomorrow, so that's a win for everybody on that front.
Yes, it is.
The next level is next, and that's a win for all of you as well.